It says I'm live. All right. I don't know if I'm live or not. I don't know if this is working. I'm working. Have a thumbs up for Missy. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right. There's Steve Pittman pointing his gun at me. There's Pat Frady. It doesn't look like Pat Frady, though. Hey, Pat. There's Angie Wham. Am I loud enough? Somebody, if I'm loud enough, somebody say you're loud enough, or give me a thumbs up, or say talk louder or something. Change your shirt. Hey, man. Yeah, I am wearing it. You know, I was out working in the yard today, Steve, and it's the only shirt I had clean after. I'm kidding there. Yeah. It was just the clean shirt on top of the pile. So next time I will wear a Bulldog shirt. Go Dogs. Well, while we're waiting on some more folks to tune in, I thought I would give a little background on a couple of the books, or the three books that I had picked tonight. I Am One of You Forever. That was a book by Fred Chappell. There's Jamie. What's going on, Jamie? Congratulations on your thing there tonight, Slick. Read this one in college, not Brevard, but at Clemson. Clemson, yeah, I know. Anyway, this is the only book, maybe another book I kept from Clemson way back when. I love this book. It's a story about an Appalachian kid growing up in the mountains. Of course, since he's an Appalachian kid. Hey, I'll get to it one of these days. Somebody had wrote on the poll there to read that. That's a good book, man. I can tell you what, it's one of my favorite books. Also, The Frog and Toad Treasury. Now, this is another book that I've had for years and years and years. Not this particular one, but nonetheless, I read this book when I was a kid. That was way back before the internet and Pac-Man and all the other distractions that have come along to take us away from reading. And so anyway, the winner of tonight's poll was The Jack Tales. Now, Jack Tales is another book that I read way back when, back before the internet and Al Gore and all that other stuff, back in the 70s, you know, when I could read back then. I'm not that old. I don't know why y'all are laughing at me. My wife and oldest son have joined. They're critiquing me from across the way here, the chasm between the lazy boy and the couch over there. So if you hear some giggling, there's Austin, there's Wayne Hill. Wayne, try to give you some culture, man. I got a book with some pictures in it, so hang on there with us. Just giving you a hard time, man. Glad you're there. So anyway, the Jack Tales, this particular book, bought it at the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games this past July. Met the author, Julia Taylor Ebel. She signed it for me. And part of her acknowledgement of me buying this book and signing it for me says, Russ, tell your own story. Man, my story is so long and so varied, I don't know that anybody would be interested. But anyway, I might do that one of these days. So anyway, it looks like we got about 8 people here. Are y'all ready to go with this? There's Ben Fox. Michelle Pope. All right, they're going to have a little sidebar conversation. If you get to the point you can't hear me, wave at me or something, or send me some kind of notification there. Ben Fox says, what's going on? I'm going to read a book, man. I'm going to read about 15 minutes or so on the Jack Tales. Now, Jack is just a plain, ordinary kid with lots of common sense and some wonderful stories about his life and dealing with the king and robbers and bears and talking donkeys and everything else. So it's all right. It's okay. Hey, I live in the house. There's other people here, so if you hear strange noises, you won't smell anything, don't worry about it. Just realize that I've got 2 teenage boys and 2 other females in the house here. There's Andy. All right, so we'll get started. Again, this is the Jack Tales. I read this book at least 40 years ago, multiple times, and loved it. So it was one of my first considerations to read to you here tonight. So we'll go ahead and get started. This particular chapter in the Jack Tales is called Jack and the Robbers. Yeah, Melissa never has a dull moment with this guy. Hey, nobody does that knows me. All right, so Jack and the Robbers, and it's got an illustration of Jack. Looks like he's laid out by the creek. Go Tigers, Terry Brown. Hey, this is a no pressure zone. If you want to be Tigers or Bulldogs or whatever that other place are, you know, down the street there. Oh, yeah, Carolina. Bedtime Stories with Russ. Hang on, Michelle, we may get there. So here we go, Jack and the Robbers. Now, Jack lived way back up in those mountains there with his mama and daddy. And one day, Jack just got plumb lazy. He wouldn't do no work, his mama said. Jack, go get the water from the spring house. Well, Jack wouldn't do it. Jack, go milk the cow before your daddy gets home. Jack just got lazy and wouldn't do a thing. Well, that evening, Jack's daddy come out of the field. He'd been a-working hard. He seen the work hadn't been done, and he gave Jack a hard whipping, and Jack got mad. Jack said, I'm a-running away from home, and I ain't never coming back here. So Jack got what little clothes he had and put them on the end of a stick, slung them over his back, and down the road he went. Well, Jack walked and walked and walked down that road till about dinner time. And he come by this old field, and he looked out in the middle of the field. And there was this big old steer out there. That old steer had horns about that long. And he had his hung down low, going moo, moo. Jack looked at that old steer, and it looked plumb pitiful. Jack walked out there and said, Old steer, what's wrong with you? Oh, said the steer, I'm getting so old. I can't pull the plow no more. My master don't need me. He gonna get rid of me tomorrow and get a new steer here. Well, Jack said, that won't do at all. You better come go with me. He said, I'm running away from home. And down the road, Jack and the steer went. They walked on and on down that old road.
Which app would you like to use?
And Siri's trying to get in on the story too. So anyway, they walked on and on down that road, and it wasn't long. They come to another field. He had a fence around it, and Jack looked out in the middle of it, and there was an old donkey out there. Its head hung down low, going, hee-haw, hee-haw. That donkey sounded plumb pitiful. Jack walked up to that old donkey and said, You sound plumb awful, he said. What's wrong with you? Oh, said the donkey, I'm getting so old. My master can't ride on my back, and I can't take him to town. He ain't got no use for me no more. He said he's going to get rid of me tomorrow and get a new donkey here. Well, Jack said, you better come go with us, he said. We're running away from home. So down the road, Jack and the steer and the donkey went. Well, they walked on and on and on. It wasn't long until they came by this big old fence. Jack looked up on top of the fence rail, and there sat this big old cat up there going, meow, meow. Jack looked up at that old tomcat sitting up there. He said, You sound plumb awful. He said, What's wrong with you? Oh, said the cat. Oh, whoa, I'm getting so old. The master put me in the house last night. He wanted me to catch a rat. I caught a rat, but I'm getting so old that rat jerked my teeth out of my mouth and got away from me. They're going to get rid of me tomorrow and get a new tomcat there. Well, Jack said, you better come go with us. We're running away from home. Down the road Jack and the steer and the donkey and the cat went, and they walked on and on. It was getting way up in the evening. They come by this old barnyard. Jack looked out in the barnyard, and there sat this old hound dog out there looking up the sky going, "Baroo!" Y'all like that? Jack said, "That old dog did sound plumb awful." Jack walked up there and said, "Old dog, what's wrong with you?" "What's wrong with me?" said the old dog. "I'm getting so old I can't chase a rabbit. Can't hardly bark no more. Ain't got but 2 good teeth left. Can't hardly bite nobody. My master's going to get rid of me tomorrow and get a new hound dog here." "Oh," said Jack, "that won't do at all. Not at all." He said, Just come on, go with us. We're running away from home." Down the road Jack and the steer and the donkey and the cat and the dog went. Well, you know the story. They walked on and on, getting nearly dark. They come by this red barn. Jack looked up on top of the red barn, and on top of it sat an old rooster up there, its tail feathers gone. It looked plumb pitiful. It reared back going, "Stand by now. Cock-a-doodle-doo!" Jack looked at that rooster and said, "You sound plumb awful. What's wrong with you?" "Oh," said the rooster, "we got company coming tomorrow, and they're going to put me in a chicken pie." "Oh," said Jack, "that won't do at all." "Gosh, no," he said. "You better come go with us. We're running away from home." Down the road Jack and the steer and the donkey and the cat and the dog and the rooster went. Well, they walked on and on. Got in the woods and they got lost. Gosh, they walked through the woods way up in the night, out there in the middle of nowhere, and Jack said, "We'd better find a place to spend the night. No telling what kind of animals are in these woods." And they kept on a-walking. Finally the old cat said, "Look, Jack, I see a light shining way off in the holler yonder." Jack looked off down in the holler. There was a little old cabin down there that had a lamp burning in the window. Jack said, "Maybe whoever lives there will let us spend the night with them." Well, Jack and all the animals walked down to that little old holler, and they came up to the house, and Jack went up on the porch and knocked and knocked and knocked and knocked on the door. It wasn't nobody home. All right, somebody said show a picture. So let me get oriented here. There's a picture of the old hound dog. There's Jerry Alexander. Let's see. Illustration, there's a cat. Oh, that's the old steer. Can't see here. All right, and the mule. Hey, well, there we go. And the cat. Sorry about that. I'm learning as I go. You're welcome, Terry. All right. And they knocked, and it wasn't nobody home. Well, Jack turned the doorknob and the door opened. Jack went on in the house. All the animals come in behind him. They got in that little old house, and Jack got to looking around. And in the corner was a table. On that table was some old food, a few pieces of money, and some old clothes about wore out. Jack said, "Uh-oh." The cat said, "What is it?" Jack said, "This is the house of the highway robbers." He said, "If they come back and find us in here, no telling what they're liable to do to us. We'd better get out of here." The cat said, "Jack, it's too late." It said, "We'd better hide. I hear 'em a-coming down the road now." Well, the cat jumped in the fireplace and raked ashes over itself. The dog got behind the chair and hid. Jack gave him a big old stove wood stick and got behind the door. The donkey got out against the steps. The steer got up against the fence up there, and the rooster flew to the top of the chimney. Well, here comes 7 highway robbers down the road. And they got up there to the fence where the old steer was hid at, and they stopped. One of the robbers said, "One of you boys go in the house and check around. See if anybody's been here while we're gone. If it ain't nobody here," he said, "build a fire in the fireplace and we'll come in." Well, that robber went in the house. He looked around, didn't see nobody, But he looked in the fireplace and he seen them two cat eyes a shining. He thought they was fire coals. That robber got him a piece of paper and got down on his knees, stuck that paper into the fireplace in the cat's face. Row, row, blowing, trying to get that fire going, and the cat got mad and jumped out and scratched the robber in the eyes. The robber jumped up, took off a running. He got to the chair, and the dog jumped up with the two teeth that he had left, bit a chunk out of the robber's leg. Well, that robber made it to the door, and Jack took that big stove wood stick, knocked the robber in the back of the head. He rolled down the steps and hit the bottom of the steps, and the donkey kicked him real hard, kicked him plumb up to the fence. And the steer grabbed him with that long horn and throwed him way over the fence. And the rooster on top of the chimney going, cock-a-doodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo. It scared them robbers plumb to death, and they took down the road running as fast and hard as they could run. The other one took out running behind them. Help me, I'm dead. Don't go back to that house. He said, it's full of witches and devils and everything. He said, I went to build a fire in the fireplace, and the witch jumped out and scratched my eyes nearly out. Got over to a chair, and a man took a butcher knife and cut a chunk out of my leg. He said, I finally got the door, and a giant took his big fist and knocked me down the steps. And I don't know what it was that kicked me up to the devil. The devil grabbed his pitchfork and throwed me way over the fence. He said, but the worst part of all, was that other man on top of the chimney hollering, throw him up here, boys, when you get done with him. Gosh, it scared all them robbers. They took out of the country and was never seen again. But Jack and that steer and that donkey and that cat and the dog and the rooster, they all got together and they moved in that little old shack down there, and they lived there for happily ever after. Amen. Didn't say amen, but anyway, hey, that's about 15 minutes or so. That's the first story in the Jack Tales. We'll do this again some other time. We'll talk about Jack and the Varmints. I don't know what Jack and the Varmints is about, but I can imagine it's got to do with Jack and some varmints. So, and the moral of the story is, it's a Jack tale. There is no moral to the story. It's just meant to sit back and enjoy, spend some time with your family and your Facebook friends. And, hey, we're down to 5 people watching. I guess we lost some. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Give me some feedback. If you can hear me okay, if you can't hear me okay, if I'm talking too loud. If you don't like my, don't look at it. Hey, it's my feed. Anyway, somebody's laughing there. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch y'all next time. Bye.